So the way I position Nostr to these people is I don't talk about freedom of speech, censorship resistant, none of that shit. I just avoid all of that. I imagine that is the vitamin that they get without even knowing. But the way I pitch it to them, I say, look, you get the ownership of email and you get the distribution of social. And then all of a sudden the light bulb pops. You're like, oh, really? So wait a minute. So my followers are actually mine.
Nostr is something that is fascinating to me as a content creator, like not being switched off. This is a big deal. And potentially the misallocation of capital that happens when you build a YouTube channel, they're just like, sorry, guys, you're switched off. Like that is mad. And a lot of the current creators are stuck in a paradigm where it's like, well, they've got a sunk cost and they kind of have to carry on. But if you're starting from scratch, it's like, well, why not just go all in on Nostr? So I'm very interested into this idea of like peeling back the Bitcoin Nostr focus to more like frequent travelers. Let's start there, and then we'll tie in like how the technology actually works behind it.
Sure. Well, I want to tease apart a couple of things. So I'm going to take a note here,
Sure.
which is the
do as much as you need
versus nomads, and then I also want to peel back the where I think Nostr's strongest value prop is. So the censorship resistance is an interesting one. I've had I wrote an article a little while ago called Nostr Unpopular Opinions, and it did the rounds. Lynn Alden reposted it. She's like, this is one of the better written articles about Nostr, because I was like challenging people. I was like, look, Nostr is not actually about censorship resistance and free speech. What Nostr is about, and in my opinion, this is where the future of the world is going. Like more and more people are becoming creators, right? The internet is being eaten up by AI slop, right? And that is a function of the fact that you have a difference between social media and social networks. So let's just first define this, and then I'll show you how Nostr comes into it. So if we rewind 15, 20 years, the rise of Facebook, Twitter, all this sort of stuff were social networks. The content you saw was influenced by the people you were connected to, your network, right? And that went on and on for 5, 10, 12 years. It wasn't until 2016, and this is a bit of history that not a lot of people know, but YouTube actually, with part of the Google DeepMind team, produced the first really well-performing recommendation algorithm for video content, where you didn't just have to subscribe to a channel to see someone's content, but based on what you subscribed and watched, YouTube was able to infer what you might be interested in. And they got a massive boost in engagement. This changed the entire social world. TikTok, which was called Douyin at the time in China, they were still early. They emulated YouTube's recommendation algo. They were doing some other stuff for TikTok's parent company, ByteDance, was running a news platform at the time. And TikTok kind of was like a spin-off. It was like a little test app, which then blew up. Then Facebook went and copied that.
Amazing,
like, shit, we need to build our own recommendation algorithm. So what happened was these platforms shifted post 2016 into becoming more about serving content. So they became social media. Before then, there were social networks. And social media, as we all know, with media, is all about engagement. And how do you get engagement? If it bleeds, it leads. That's never going to change. The technology can change, but the human psychology doesn't change. So what you end up getting is this kind of like slavishness to the algorithm, which is if you create sensational crap, you will hack the algorithm and you will go viral. So social media became all about discoverability. So if you can kind of picture a triangle, the top is discoverability. The bottom of the triangle is like depth, your crowd, your followers, right? Social networks were good at connecting you with people you know and seeing their content. Social media is very good at discovery for like new creators and, sending your content viral even if you don't have any followers. The more we've moved there, we've actually left social networks behind. There is no social network at the moment. There isn't a platform where, like, if you go on TikTok, you don't see any content from people you're following. Like, that doesn't exist anymore. It's like you just see whatever the algo serves you. And that's fine. I don't say this in sort of like a bad judgment call way, but everything has a price, right? Like if that is the mechanism through which you discover content, then you get this sort of perverse situation where you are as a consumer just like sucked into a never-ending spiral of fucking slop where you're just like in the social vortex. And then as a creator, you're no longer creating things that are interesting to you or your audience because you don't have a relationship to your audience anymore. All you're doing is trying to create stuff that the algo will help you get discovered for. So there's no depth anymore. It's all like it becomes surface level. So if we look at what Nostr is a little bit like the way I frame it to people and the way I frame it to creators, because I really truly believe we're moving into the age of the real creator economy. The creator economy has been growing for the last 5-10 years, definitely, but like we are really moving into that age. And more people are going to become creators. They're going to be building a lifestyle. They're going to be location independent. They're going to be doing all these things, which is what I'm trying to build Satlantis for. But these people are interested in, or they all relate to this argument. On a social network, your audience is rented, which is what you're talking about before. You build an audience on YouTube, they switch you off, you're fucked. Your entire asset, it's kind of like the difference between Bitcoin and money in the bank. Exactly. You're on someone else's land, or it's like Bitcoin and money in the bank. It's the bank's money. It's not yours. So you build this asset elsewhere. And then even if you don't get booted off, if the algo changes, or you just get tired of trying to like hack the algo, like, and you just want to build some content, you basically become invisible. What smart creators do is they try and funnel people into an email list because they all know intuitively that the email list is the list you own. It's not the one you're renting. So the way I position Nostr to these people is I don't talk about freedom of speech, censorship resistant, none of that shit. I just avoid all of that. I imagine that is the vitamin that they get without even knowing. But the way I pitch it to them, I say, look, you get the ownership of email and you get the distribution of social. And then all of a sudden the light bulb pops. You're like, oh, really? So wait a minute. So my followers are actually mine. Oh, wow. That's really interesting. So then there's an incentive for them to actually come and build an audience on this new thing called Nostr. So that's kind of the way I frame it. I say it's the brand new creator tool. You own your audience, you get social distribution, and that to me is Nostr's strongest value prop.